Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 20 of Verdicts of the Ancient Kings. We're going to be tasting the favors today, as we will be looking at some set six, some old spoilers, some new spoilers, and some champions to take a look at. Alongside me, not feeling all too well, we do have Nico. Nico, just do a quick hi, and we can get straight into the show.
Sure. Hi.
All right. So, first things first, I was actually sending out a couple of prizes, and people were surprised to know that we were actually giving away prizes in our daily puzzles. So, I do want to let you know there are prizes to be given out. I think the current round of prizes for this particular show, I think the grand prize winner might be getting a storm coat and some convocation packs, and everyone else will be getting some of the exclusive mercenaries and some convocation packs as well. I was able to ninja my way into the Hex headquarters, get in and get out with a whole bunch of goodies that I'm sharing alongside you guys. And what a perfect show to do it for, because everyone had to have a unique answer for this particular puzzle that Nico introduced last week. There's a lot of words on the screen. I'm sure you guys can all read it, but essentially the idea was to really break the captain's parrot with the first mate and the quartermaster, getting out some really strong 1-cost and 2-cost cards, and doubling up on some actions. There were a number of winners, so Vorengard, you are going to be the grand prize winner, and well, Nico, this is going to be the majority of the talking I'm going to make you do, explaining what really went down on the Dread Technomancer example that you sent to me.
Okay, yeah, so everyone that had sent me a solution sent me a unique solution, and apologize for my voice. I'm getting over bronchitis, which is nasty. But so the winner basically, one of the winners submitted this one here that he started in play with the Dread Technomancer, which is a 1-cost rare. And he also started in play with the Technical Genius, which is the 2-drop uncommon, and of course the Captain's Parrot. And he played a Mind Call that was copied with 1 Sapphire Shard, and he targeted 2 Recoilers in his hand. So those Recoilers would become 1-cost, and then because the Technical Genius is in play, they're both free. So you can just keep playing a Recoiler and bouncing the other Recoiler, so that you basically just get all these Dreadlings in play for free. And then once you have enough to deal 40 damage, you tap with them all and you win. So that was a really nice, clean, simple solution. The other solutions were a little bit more convoluted, but they all worked. And it's just interesting to see how people were able to kind of think outside the box to win on turn 1.
Yeah, and just to give Nico credit, Nico did send me multiple solutions. I just didn't have the energy to type them all up and put them all on slides. But then again, typing up, for anyone who's had to type codes to give away, that is extremely exhausting, trying to type like those 25 digits that absolutely make no sense whatsoever, and trying to distinguish the zeros between the zeros and the O's. But hopefully your prizes will be in the mail shortly. I hope you guys enjoy them, and we will go ahead and move on to, well, the favors of the week. And we are going to be spoiling some exclusive set 6 cards. We actually have 5 favors. Each shard has its own favor. And the favors have their own, tri-flavor flavor, I guess I would call it. Essentially, each of them are different actions. They're either basic actions or quick actions, different costs. But the utility of this particular card is what you can do with it. Blood's favor, I'm just going to read it to you right now. It says choose one, and you can choose between Blood Denial, Blood Pact, and Blood Siphon. You either make your opponent discard a random card, or you can draw 2 cards and lose 2 health, or you can void each opposing champion's crypt and gain 1 health for each troop voided this way. Nico, what do you think about this utility in the Blood's favor?
Out of all the favors, this is the one that I guess since we're sharing it first, I'll just say it's the one I like the least, but I do like the Blood Siphon mechanic especially if you're up against another Dreadling deck,
Hmm.
either in limited or constructed. And I mean, you can definitely make use of this card for any of the different favor choices. Denial is always going to be good
Hmm.
because it's random, it's even stronger. And then, of course, drawing two cards is always nice, even if you have to lose 2 health.
Yeah, I think Blood's favor. If it was a quick action, I would pump it up a notch a little bit, just to be able to draw two cards on your opponent's turn, being able to hold a hero fall on your turn, and then knowing that no troops come down playing this, but it still can do a lot of damage. And I think Blood's favor is going to see a bit of play in limited, being able to remove dreadlings. There are some I'm thinking of the scrounge troop that generates more dreadlings. I can see that becoming a problem. So being able to get rid of any of that mechanic, or getting a little bit of extra health if your opponent was planning on lethal, it's always a nice backup plan to have something, a little bit of a curveball. Also, as you mentioned, being able to remove that last one or two cards in your opponent's hand when it does get into the land of top decking is important as well. So moving from Nico's least favorite favor is going to be the diamond favor. In the diamond's favor, we have diamond cleansing, diamond fortification, and diamond banishing. Diamond cleansing is each opposing champion sacrifices a constant, or troops you control get +3 defense this turn, or, and I think this is my favorite, destroy a random opposing troop with 5 defense or more. Three very, very unique cards. I think the constant is probably going to be used the least, but when it does get used, you're going to be happy that it is in the diamond favor cycle. What are your thoughts on the diamond's favor?
This reminds me a lot of Pride's Fall, but with 2 added benefits. So it's basically the same cost. It's also a quick action. It'll get rid of a troop with 5 defense or more, and then it also has the 2 other effects added to it. So it's like a better version of Pride's Fall.
Yeah, and being able to have that as a combat trick, either on an attacking 5 defense troop, or being able to block and giving 3 defense to everyone else, that is always a really big benefit as well. And it is quick action, so it is a legitimate combat trick, both usable while you're attacking or defending.
It kills Mama Yeti.
And it kills Mama Yeti. Anything that is 2 cost that kills Mama's Yeti is absolutely important. I believe Repel is getting cycled out, or is that Armies of Myth? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, Repel is set 1.
Yeah, so if Repel is set 1, we need another 2 cost way of getting rid of Mama Yeti, and, well, Diamond has the answer once again. Moving right along, we go on to Ruby's favor, that has Ruby Anger, Ruby Rampage, and Ruby Swiftness. First of all, Ruby's favor only costs 1, as you guys can see. Deal 3 damage to each opposing champion, so this might be nice when we do get 2v2 or some sort of multiple champion battles. Ruby Rampage, each opposing champion sacrifices an artifact, or what I think will be used the most, Ruby Swiftness. Exhausted troops you control get Swift Strike this turn. What's your thoughts on Ruby's favor?
This one is extremely good. It's only 1 cost, and all of the benefits from it are very strong for the cost association. I think the Swift Strike will actually lead to more people playing Outposts. Mm-hmm. We may see more of the Ruby Outpost that's heavily neglected currently in the meta because it's kind of slow. It gives all your troops Rage 1, which is really nice. We might see it more because then you can use this quick action defensively. And then if you can get more than one of your troops with Swift Strike on the block, you can really blow out your opponent, kind of like how Cry of Gwaine used to work in the last limited cycle.
Yeah, I know a lot of people was crying when Cry of Ganyoween was thrown down, and you would triple block of one particular troop. Obviously, you have to find a way to exhaust your troops. So outpost and the Ruby outpost in particular, as you mentioned, being very neglected, may come into play and be very important. The deal 3 damage and sacrifice an artifact doesn't seem particularly strong, but at the same time, you got to remember that it only costs 1. So most of the time, your opponent is not going to be thinking you have that many combat tricks up your sleeve when you only leave one resource available on your opponent's turn. Anything else you want to add with this one?
No, just I really like it. It's probably my favorite favor.
It's your favorite. You're just tongue twisting me today. Since I got to talk more flavors and favors and favorites.
That's good enough.
All right, so moving along to the Sapphire's favor, it is going to be a quick action between the Sapphire Serenity, Sapphire Storm, and Sapphire Stunning. And the Sapphire Serenity was the one that when we both looked at it, we both scratched our head and was like, what does that really mean? Interrupt all basic actions. And I'll save Nico's voice here. Nico was the one who thought, well, if for some reason there was a basic action that got prophesied and said, when you play this, copy it, Sapphire Serenity at this stage would actually interrupt all basic actions on the chain. So it's a interesting way where they say someone has like a double predator and prey or some other double basic action. I think it would be one of the best ways to get rid of it, since you are stopping essentially 2 casts of a card with 1.
Yeah, this is the Screw You to McBombus and Thunderfield Elder.
And moving right along, we do have the Sapphire Storm and the Sapphire Stunning. We'll see how the charge mechanics work with the upcoming champions, and if there's anything else that do trigger with champion charge powers or gaining charges with Arena Regular and Gore Master, as far as we know right now, rotating out of the current cycle. We'll see if anything has to do with gaining charges, or if there's any other cards out there where you would really want to gain that many charges.
Yeah, I mean, we did see the new champions that kind of showed off those really expensive charge powers. So maybe this is another way to help you get to them earlier.
Exactly. And Sapphire stunning each opposing troop with 1 attack or less. I guess it could be used if your opponent is for some reason leaving a lot of chump blockers and you need to be able to swing and get through. But it was the least exciting, and I think Sapphire's favor actually is the least exciting for me compared to Blood's favor. If I had to choose which one I didn't like the most.
Yeah, I mean, the stunning part is okay maybe against Dreadling Tech. To turn off them before they attack, which could help you combat assault triggers. But other than that, I don't see it being very useful.
Yeah. Or if there ever is a day when Dreadlings have rage, so every turn they just like get stronger and then they die.
True.
All right, moving along to Wild's favor. I'm sure everyone knew that card was coming up. We have a 3-cost basic action, so this is going to be only on your turn. Basic timing. Wild Dreadlings, summon 4 Dreadlings. Wild Healing, gain 7 health. And Wild Valor, create 2 Valors and put them into your hand. And I gotta say, in terms of limited play, since I am mainly a limited player, this kind of excited me just a bit, because as Wild, sometimes you need a little bit more scrounge, and getting 4 Dreadlings could help you with those larger scrounge 6 troops that Wild tend to have. Wild Healing, if you're getting into the late game and you need to gain 7 health, or just being able to buff 2 additional troops with create 2 Valors and put them into your hand. True, it does end up costing you 5 resources to get all of those Valors into play, but that does seem to be a lot of a value, since you can pick and choose where all of those buffs go.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest card for what you're paying for it, but it does give you some pretty nice choices. So for that alone, I think it's nice. And And Wild, of course, is the one that kind of shows off both Ardent and Underworld. So this has kind of the best of both worlds.
All right, and then moving finally to some of the other cards that were spoiled throughout the week. I apologize if there are other cards that I did not catch up on, but these were the five that what I was able to easily find. Hate Hollow Witch, Daughter of the Poet, Exalted Professor, Strangle, and the Crypt Curse Knight. Daughter of the Poet perhaps being the big reveal, getting the Might Singer of Diamond, so to speak. It is an ardent troop, so it can be quote unquote conscripted, and being able to get. Actually, I have a question. Do you know if those diamonds change if it's conscripted and say it's like Ruby, a card that conscripted it?
I believe conscript only changes the threshold requirements for the casting cost.
All right, that's what I was thinking as well. So you may not be able to get all of the goodness that is Daughter of Poet, but what is your take on all of these cards and what we have here?
I think they're all pretty amazing for what they do. It's nice to see the design being kind of pushed in different ways. I really like the Crypt Curse Knight. I think that'll be fun to play around with. It's nice to have an aggressive 2-drop for blood that's single threshold.
Mm-hmm.
I think Zubrin's Exalted Professor card's pretty fun, and will be interesting to see how people push that card. The creating a random action every time he every time he readies is going to be interesting. And Strangle is one of the best 2-drop removals I've seen printed for Hex. And Hate Hollow Witch reminds me a lot of kind of the 2-drop Ruby card from set 2 or 3, one of the Elf Bard guys. But I think it'll see some play. I think it's more of a limited card than constructed, but we'll see. And Daughter of the Poet is just going to be like the biggest bomb for the set. I think it's going to be the $20+ card.
Yeah, unless there is a blood version. I think they said that they completed some sort of cycle in some sort of preview. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had a blood version of this amazing 2-drop and see if it is the final chase. But really strong cards. Hate Hollow Witch, I like the fact that on your turn, if you played on turn 3, you can play an additional resource even before your opponent has a chance to remove it. So you can either gain up a step. So if, say, you're on the play, on turn 3, you can play and then play an additional resource before they're able to burn it or do any sort of instant action. Since
that's a good point.
Yeah. So then they have to deal with, okay, do I remove it, or do I leave it on the board and take the additional damage to try and catch up to my opponent as well? This is part of the strange timing that happens in Hex. Your opponent does not get a chance to respond until you pass priority to them. So this will be one of those cards that may bend that a little bit, and we'll see if any of the good deck builders out there can really push getting to 4 and getting to 5 resources quickly.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe like even since Cristeta will still be constructed playable as a champion, there's probably some ways that you can get Cristeta to go charge power on 2 into Hate Hollow Witch into an extra shard, and then the following turn you're basically on. You can be on 5 shards. So
yeah,
nice.
Yeah, 5 shards for wild. What good 5 shard wild troops are there out there?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, and then. And no periwinkles on the board, please. All right, so moving along, we did talk about some of the champions that were released, and these were the 4 that we currently know of. And what's interesting, or I guess great about these 4 particular champions is instead of being shard restricted, they're really more. I wouldn't even say ardent or underworld restricted. They're basically more ardent and underworld leaning. What's your take on these?
Well, I looked at them for quite a bit earlier today, and I kind of like the charge generation champions more so than the pure kind of ardent underworld themed ones. But I really don't think that these are going to take off as much as people think they will for limited play. I think the set 5 champions are going to be more popular, but time will tell. So we'll see. There might be other cards in the set that just synergize a lot better with these charge powers than what I'm thinking will be better for limited play.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at them. Octavia, I'm not really that thrilled with. Create a Valor, it does cost 6, so the cost is kind of high, and she doesn't have any sort of charge generation, as you mentioned. Ivan Slagpot, summon a Dreadling for each different underworld race among troops you control. Could be very, very useful if you're trying to get your scrounge going, as you often try and do in limited. The High Cleric Marzul and Theros, both of those seem interesting in that it is going to make you start to draft or start to think of your decks more ardent and underworld, which thematically is something that I wanted to see. If we're talking about Hero Fall and Scars of War, and talking about it from a story point of view, like thinking in terms of your mindset to draft a particular faction was something that I thought was missing from Hero Fall. Oftentimes you would see Blood or Ruby Diamond Valor decks with the 7-drop Necropolis. Necropolis that has Assault, and you would lower his cost. I believe it's the 4/6 or the you know what card I'm talking about. It's a common. Yeah. And the blending just didn't make me feel right, but everyone out there was just trying to make the better deck. I really want to see what the draft pools look like in terms of, are people actually trying to draft a specific deck that goes ardent and underworld? Are there other cards that perhaps trigger off of the number of different races you spot, and maybe resource generation or card draw, things of that nature? And we'll have to get a further look and a better look into those particular cards.
Yeah, and if my voice will let me, the one thing I noticed about set 5 too is, yes, ardent was very strong, and yes, we had the Crusaders that we could build around, but it seems like often in set design there's all those cards that can't quite be ardent or underworld because they're just too strong stat wise to get the added benefits for falling under the class, like Bolt Spasm or Mama Yeti, or some other type of random card that's not associated with the faction. So it'll really be based upon how strong those types of cards are for set 6, and whether or not people just try to continually draft the best cards, or if having the synergy is that much more important.
Yeah, and we'll have to take a look. I am extremely excited about it. The set. I did talk to some of the designers, and for the people out there who are wondering how come High Cleric Marzul doesn't have Orc High Cleric as one of his traits, that has been fixed. He is in fact a High Cleric, just like Zakoi, or however you pronounce his name. So he is in fact one of the. Are there 6 High Council clerics or 9? I forget what the story is on them, but there's supposed to be a limited number of High Clerics, and I think we've only seen 3 so far. So really interested to see what are the other traits and how we'll be introduced to the other High Clerics as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised champions don't have flavor text yet.
Yeah, me too. Well.
Or do they? Maybe they do, and I just haven't noticed.
You know what? If I'll admit I haven't actually looked at the champion's actual card all that often to see if they have flavor text, but that's something that we'll have to go take a look at later on. All right, so from pretty much, unfortunately, due to everyone being under the weather this time around, we don't have a new puzzle for you. I know all of you puzzle goers out there are hoping for a new puzzle, and we do have, or we hope to have, some exciting things to announce for you guys coming up in the future as well. Better prize support as I try to ninja my way through the prize closets at Hex Entertainment. And from all of us here at Cornerstone Guild, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Thanks all. See ya.